Hey there folks, MasakoX here. I present to you one of the first things you see in Dragon Ball Z, but in a different way. The farmer winning. Yeah, you heard me right. And don't think it's going to be one-on-one battle, it's actually going to be a bit more elaborate than that. Today we wish to explore something that would be very much in keeping with today. Now, you might be wondering how exactly the likes of the farmer, despite his powerful armament, could ever think to possibly conquer Raditz. Well, some good luck does come his way in this retelling, but I feel like it could be something pretty fun because come on, we need a bit of a giggle. Picture this. It's the start of Dragon Ball Z, but the likes of Goku, Gohan, Piccolo and the rest of the Dragon team, everything is absolutely fine. Nothing is really amiss. Earth is peaceful, and has been for quite a long time. That is, and say it with me folks, until Raditz shows up! In the green lands of Spinach Wastes, a mysterious spaceship has started to make its way into the planet's atmosphere. With an almighty crash and explosion, the pod slams into the dirt and decimates a huge swathe of the farmland of one particular farmer that we know about. He is shaken by the shockwaves and gets into his Chevrolet pickup truck, and Toriyama was wanting to make that very clear, it was a Chevrolet, and make his way to the site. He had just been pitching hay for his animals and was concerned that some of his precious ostriches might have been hurt. Also, that thing could have been an alien. When he got there, the crater was immense. It must have been so big that it could have held at least a couple of dozen copies of his truck with room for more. He looked very nervous, understandably so. What kind of craft could have survived that sort of an impact? He gripped his shotgun tightly and nervously awaited for signs of movement. It came. Instead of footsteps though, he could hear a clunk of a door, a whoosh of air being displaced. At first, he saw a chunk of hair rising from the lip of the crater, but then a face, and then a body. A huge body. It must have been over 6 foot tall or something, and looking completely different to what he expected. Strong, menacing, and clearly not from this world. Oh my goodness, an alien! The farmer thought to himself. He saw the creature land on the grass and slowly make his way, perambulating towards him, its eyes fixed on his target. No time to run now. Without pause, the farmer grabbed his weapon and pointed it towards the being. Stay back! I will shoot! I ain't afraid to use this! The alien stopped and looked at the weapon before tapping the side of his head. A chorus of beeps echoed through the air, and then a static clunk. The creature then spoke English. English, eh? Interesting. And very convenient. A power level of 5, huh? My goodness, this planet was made for Kakarot. But still, why are these creatures still roaming free? I thought they'd have been blown away already, or even eventually. No matter. I don't mind stretching my legs a bit. To the farmer, this mumbo-jumbo was ramblings that he had no idea about, even if he could understand the individual words. He reiterated his warning and slowly moved his finger ready to fire. Raditz gazed upwards. What? Are you seriously going to attack me? With that thing? Stupid as well as weak? How is this planet still functioning? Alright, fire when ready, puny earthling. Goaded into doing so, the farmer fired, adrenaline coursing through his veins. However, by the time he opened his eyes, Raditz had his hand in front of his face, with the projectile nestled tightly in his hand. He had caught it without any sign of injury or distress, like it was nothing. Disappointing. Primitive. Will be of no sport at all. A waste of time. He then played with the item in his hand a little bit, tinkering around with it before placing it in front of his thumb. What? What are you doing? Raditz then flicked the bullet and it flew back towards the farmer. But this is where things change, people. In this particular timeline, the farmer had just about enough time and adrenaline in his veins to grab the butt of his weapon and frantically use it like a baseball bat, fighting for his life. He flung it in the direction of the bullet and it collided, ricocheting the pellet at great speed away from him. The farmer wasn't sure where exactly it went, and nor did Raditz, but he didn't care about that. As far as he was concerned, it had flown off somewhere. The Saiyan then decided to play with his food a little bit and make this fool quiver some more.
That was a brave but ultimately foolish move, Earthling. All you've done is prolong your suffering, but I'm feeling generous. I will not kill you. Yet. I'm enjoying your expression of horror far too much to let you go now.
The farmer had no answer to this, but he needn't have worried. He fired his gun again, and this time it was enough to stun Raditz. Not through it hitting, it bounced off his armor with no damage at all, of course, but it was enough to distract him, angering Raditz.
What is wrong with your tiny little mind? You're in no position to fight back. Accept your fate, human.
The farmer was scared out of his mind, but speaking of mind, Raditz had paid no mind at all to that first bullet. It had been sent careening into the distance, and then boink, hitting the gate of his ostrich pen, breaking the lock to it, and it swung open, sending about several hundred, maybe a couple of thousand ostriches scurrying out of their patch and rushing away out of fear towards Raditz. Think the wildebeest scene from The Lion King. Raditz heard the hubbub and stamping and spotted the huge crowd of ostriches running towards him, but he didn't care about that. The farmer curled up into a ball instinctively, knowing that this happened before this stampede, with the collection of fowl rushing the pair, with Raditz casually just stepping out of the way of each bird, taking a pot shot or two along the way. However, the farmer used this time to use the element of surprise. He took the gun he had been using and crawled towards Raditz, who was acting like a sort of shield from the Ivarian onslaught. With a rapid movement, thinking he wouldn't get a chance like this again, he reloaded his weapon and fired straight up at Raditz's head. This time, it did some damage. Raditz hadn't expected that he would fire a third time, and as we saw with Super, even if Goku's guard is down, bullets can still hurt, and the pellet collided with Raditz's temple and sent him off balance and into the stampede, as well as a small boulder, many of which littered the prairie. A massive bump to the head, it knocked out the Saiyan. Now using Raditz's motionless body as cover, the farmer slunk over and hid until the birds had all fled to the other side of the farm. When the dust cleared, the farmer got up and noticed that the thing's machine had cracked, and the thing itself was bleeding from nearby on his temple. Despite the fact this creature meant to harm him, he just couldn't leave it here to die. He dragged the heavy being to his truck, it taking a long time to do so, before transporting it back to the farm. On his way back, he looked to his shotgun, it looking quite beaten up and in need of repair. He patted it though.
Baby, you just done saved my life.
In the barn, the farmer backed his truck and dragged Raditz to a pile of hay and left him there to get some more bandages. By the time he got back, the being had awoken, dazed and confused. He wasn't afraid exactly of his surroundings, but he was definitely uncertain. He spotted the farmer, and the farmer flinched.
What? What is this? Where am I? Who are you?
The farmer rolled his eyes. Talk about cliched questions from aliens. He could immediately tell that the aura of this being, though, had changed considerably. He wasn't as afraid of this guy. He didn't look menacing anymore either. Instead, he looked like a fish out of water or a lost child.
Well, all I can say is that you certainly caused a lot of trouble for me, alien. Alien? Me?
Raditz looked at his hands and was bewildered. He didn't look alien to the person talking to him.
What's your name, alien? Name? I don't know. Don't know, huh? Well, how could you?
The farmer paused. Of course. The alien must have had a bout of amnesia from the bullet and then hitting the floor in that boulder at great speed. The combined force of all of that, plus his obvious huge weight, must have made him forgot his malicious intent. Ooh, lucky. In time, Raditz started to acclimatize to the farm. It had become clear that this amnesia wasn't short-term, and much like his brother had displayed, his mindset had completely changed. Brother and brother. He was a very good-natured and now amiable fellow with a kind heart. Everything malicious that the farmer had seen when he arrived had been completely extinguished. Not only that, but this being was freakishly strong. Like, he could carry a whole tree back to the farm to chop into firewood kinda strong. And these trees weren't small. The farmer's wife also liked having young blood around the house after their eldest son had fled for the city years ago for something more exciting. It had been too quiet around here. Damn city slickers lured our boy away with their garish lights and fast living. He doesn't even call to tell us he's all right. How dare he, the little scoundrel? Raditz looked sad to hear this.
But I don't understand that. I like it here. I don't know why, but deep down to me, it feels peaceful. Like my body feels like it needs this relaxation.
He smiles to his adopted mother, and she smiles back. I like you, boy. Speaking of, he needed a name since he couldn't remember his current one. The farmer one day, having repaired his shotgun, landed on the name Triga, for obvious reasons. Triga, liked this name. It sounded cool. The young man grew to like this work more and more as the days wore on. It was simple, but satisfying. However, one day, he began to unknowingly draw attention to himself. Keen to test his powers, Triga, now sporting a fetching pair of dungarees and flannel shirts, just like his pa, was exploring the limits of his power. He knew he could lift things with ease and never tired from all the work he was doing, but his dad said that he could fly too. He tested this out by concentrating deeply, and sure enough, it just came to him like his body knew what to do. He was hovering just a few inches above the ground. It was like his body just got it. Innate ability even. Triga started to fly around at great speed, getting faster and faster as he gained confidence. He then laughed out loud with joy. This freedom, this supernatural talent. But in the distance, his energy had been sensed. Goku, back at Mount Pausa with Gohan and Chi-Chi, suddenly felt this strange power. They'd just got back from Kame House and had a really good time introducing Gohan to his friends. But then, he sensed this power and it made him nervous. Where had this strange power come from? He asked Chi-Chi to make sure Gohan didn't go anywhere until he came back, and flew with the magic cloud to the location of the power. As Goku sped to the location, he got a more detailed read of this person. This power was incredible, stronger than him, and anyone he knew, even King Piccolo. It was sort of similar to that blip he felt a couple of weeks back, but he put that aside as it suddenly disappeared again. But now though, this was definitely not something to ignore, it could have been bad. When he arrived, he spotted Triga flying around doing loop-de-loops, laughing his head off like he was enjoying himself, not causing any harm, but it still needed to be addressed. Goku flew over to him and shouted at him to stop. Triga stopped and was awkwardly hovering in place. Again, he's not used to it. Before then falling to earth and collapsing in a heap. Goku blinked. Was he for real? Did that just happen? He hovered down to the surface like a pro and spotted the being gingerly getting up, rubbing his butt. You okay there? Asked Goku. Triga gazed at Goku and nodded.
Yeah, kinda had a bumpy landing there.
Triga then remembered he had just witnessed a magic cloud with a person on it right before him.
What the? Wait, what was that cloud thing?
Goku then remembered Nimbus and explained who he was and asked Triga what he was doing here and where he came from.
That's the thing, I don't know. I remember a splitting headache a while back, and after that, not much. Until that farmer there nursed me back to health.
Farmer? Are you a farmer as well?
I guess so, seeing as I do chores for them, and I live on a farm, so yeah.
Whoa. How can a farmer like you have this big power? Triga was baffled.
I have big power? Really? I mean, I know I can lift a lot of stuff, but how much power do I have?
Goku was starting to get less scared and more pumped.
Like a huge amount. I've never seen anything like it. Say, what's your name, stranger?
Triga. At least that's what the farmer called me. I like the name though, it's kinda cool.
Nice to meet you, Triga.
Goku's stomach grumbles.
Oops. All this mystery's made me hungry. You got anything to eat?
Triga looks to his watch.
Well, I mean, it is lunchtime after all. I guess Ma and Pa will have room for one more.
Cool. Let's go. Lead the way. Can you actually fly well?
I suppose I can try,
Triga nervously says, and together they glide back to the house. When they get there, at the house, Triga introduces Goku to them, and the four of them have an unforgettable luncheon. The farmer and his wife are pleased for Triga to have made a friend like that, and someone so nice. Albeit a little greedy, but hey, he had the same appetite as Triga, so I guess that was sort of endearing, enough to let it slide. They also found out he was a celebrity of sorts, this person, being the guy who had recently won the last World Martial Arts Tournament.
Well, Triga's pretty strong. You could train him to be as good as you, Goku,
says the farmer.
Huh.
Goku ponders this.
That's not a bad idea.
Triga laments this with his dad.
Come on, Pa! Just because I'm strong doesn't mean I'm cut out to do that fighty stuff on TV.
Ma then considers the financial gains from this idea.
Triga, at least give it a try. Sweetie, we could certainly use the money round here. Our gear's getting a little rusty and all, and you may be a good help, but it might be a good outlet for you, sweetie. I think you need more stimulation.
Goku was beaming. A chance to directly train with this strong guy, and his apparent caretakers were cool with it.
Oh boy!
Goku exclaims.
I can't wait to get started.
Huh? Goku suddenly looks tense.
What is it, Goku?
Mutters Triga.
We got company. It's Piccolo.
Piccolo? Who's that guy? Wait, the Piccolo? That big green guy who tried to take over the world?
Not quite,
Goku says seriously.
it's his son. I fought him a long time ago.
Triga offers to come with him, to which Goku declines.
Please, stay here. This won't take long.
Outside, Piccolo is standing there looking stern at Goku, who exits the front door.
What do you want, Piccolo?
I think you know why I'm here. You sensed that power too, didn't you?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Don't play dumb with me, I know you've met him. I could sense you fraternizing with whatever that thing is.
Triga, who had been watching from the window, didn't like being called a thing, and decided to test his supposed might and step outside.
Hey, Green Man! You looking for a fight? Well, you done just gone found one.
Goku and Piccolo turned to him, the former looking apprehensive.
Triga, it's okay. I got this. Go back inside.
No way, Goku! If this slug's got a problem with me, then a problem he's going to get.
Triga is stepping forward and readying himself. Somehow he felt confident and unafraid of Piccolo. Goku was amazed by his calmness, and Piccolo, he was actually taken aback.
How have you gone under the radar this long? Your powers. Interesting. I want to test it.
Piccolo gets into position, taking off his weighted clothing. Goku was getting nervous. His rival was getting serious.
Triga, please don't do this.
Too late. Triga had rushed forward and was almost bowled over with his own speed, causing him to tumble into Piccolo, and the pair of them collapsed to the ground in a heap. The demon had no clue what just happened.
What kind of stunt was that?
Triga had no answer, but he wanted to protect Goku at all costs. He then launched a punch at Piccolo with all of his might that he could muster, and it connected with Piccolo's jaw. It sent him flying into the air, him clutching his mouth in agony. Triga looked to his fist. A little scuffed, but otherwise fine. Whoa. Goku wants to fight strong guys, and Triga's innate power was over 4 times stronger than his own. However, that also caught the ire of Piccolo, and now we have witnessed the slug boy getting decked in the schnoz for daring to hurt Triga's new friend. We conclude our story with Piccolo having been sent flying for a considerable distance from just one punch from Triga. The amnesiac had no idea that his true strength was that potent. He was gazing at his fist for what seemed like hours. That punch didn't drain him, it filled him with confidence actually. Almost like his body was itching for more. That's the Saiyan in him. He hadn't really thought about fighting all that much since the farmer took him in. By the way, he does have a name, I found out in the Japanese dub, the farmer. Nofu, which means farmer. Hey, it's better than nothing, and far less repetitive than me just saying farmer all the time. Now he had met Goku though, Triga, not Nofu, he was getting more and more into the idea of martial arts. Goku was stood on the spot and utterly amazed by Triga's power.
Amazing! You did all that in one punch? I knew it! You are strong!
Triga looks a little bashful.
Come now! I didn't mean to do that! I don't even know how I did it! But quite frankly, I don't feel tired after doing it.
Goku blinked. He didn't feel tired after that?
You mean you weren't going all out?
Triga shrugged. No. Goku beamed, his tension alleviating for just a moment, before Piccolo arrived back on the scene, massaging his nearly broken jaw.
Enough with the games, he shouted. It's time to get serious.
Triga and Goku looked at him with stern looks and got ready to fight him head on. Triga raced forward, and both he and Piccolo began to spar, with the former looking completely unfazed by the flurry of blows. Piccolo was having to reach his limit all of the time just to even keep up with Triga. Goku was just standing there, transfixed with what he was witnessing.
Oh boy, wait till I get into Master Roshi!
With one swift strike, Piccolo is bodied to the ground, and he is struggling to get up from this one. Triga loomed over him.
For the last time, get out of here, if you know what's good for you. Leave us alone!
Piccolo was grunting with anger and frustration. He had no answer to this. Not even his new ultimate technique would be enough right now. Well, it might be, if he played it cool. He got up and bowed, which took the Saiyans off guard.
You're right. I give up. I'm far too weak for you two. You've got your way. You won't be seeing me again.
Without a chance to retort, Piccolo just flew away from view, having the last word. Goku and Triga were left there, and the former was so proud of what he saw.
Seriously? You are seriously cool, Triga! I gotta start training with you, like, right now!
Triga, looking a little concerned, tries to wave this aside.
Goku, calm down there. I'm not even in the right attire, and besides, I don't really know much about you.
Goku got into his stance, but he looked happy.
Tell you what, we can talk more if we just have one little itty-bitty sparring session right now. Please?
Triga sighed and relented. As the two of them fought for a little bit, Goku's mind was occupied with this greater power in front of him. Piccolo, though, hadn't gone. He was in hiding a couple of 100 yards away. He was charging something.
If I could get that lumbering oaf out of the way, he muttered to himself, then I can easily take down Goku. He won't have his new bodyguard to protect him.
He was charging his
special beam cannon.
And the targets were still sparring, unaware of his presence. Triga was reluctant at first to fight, but he did get into it once he actually focused. But Goku sensed something, a sudden bolt of energy nearby, but it was too late for them to counter.
Triga, look out!
What? A massive purple and yellow spiral shot towards them, Goku feeling its energy, and it outweighed his friends. This was dangerous. Triga had just about enough time, thanks to Goku's warning, to move out of the way enough for the attack to not hit him squarely in the middle of the torso. But it did hit his side, which was enough to incapacitate him. Triga fell to the ground in pain and clutched his side. Goku rushed to his aid and in a flash knew what to do. He knew Piccolo was nearby now. He could focus. And also, that power surely couldn't be replenished immediately. That was a one and done affair. Without hesitation, he grabbed Triga, called for Nimbus, and took him to Korin's tower. Piccolo just watched them go, thinking that even if they could heal that oaf, it would have been enough to get the message across. You do not mess with the son of the great King Piccolo. When they arrived at Korin's tower, Goku was telling Triga to hang in there. The cat was happy to help a friend of Goku, and he had a bean ready to go.
Triga, eat this!
Goku, I'm not in the mood to eat.
It'll make you better, trust me!
Triga looked at the bean and swallowed it. But within seconds, he felt himself change. His body magically healing. The wound had gone. The pain had ceased. In fact, he felt better than ever. He couldn't explain it, but his body felt even more full of life than before the fight with Piccolo. Triga leapt up and was amazed with this recovery.
What was in that thing?
Korin nodded.
That's your magical Senzu bean there, friend. One of my greatest tools in my belt. The takeaway from all this is, you're welcome.
Triga was now realizing he was talking to a cat.
What is that?
Oh, that's Korin. He's one of the caretakers of Earth. That reminds me, since we're here, you want to meet Kami, the guardian of Earth?
Guardian? You know him?
Uh-huh. He trained me a few years back. I'm sure he'd be delighted to meet you, a friend of mine.
Well, I mean, things can't get any weirder than they are now.
Within minutes, they had flown up to Kami's lookout, and the tall fellow introduced himself to Kami. But the old sage didn't look all that happy to see him. The elder looked at Triga's tail, having been wrapped around his belt, and had a pensive look on his brow.
The tail, just like Goku. Tell me something.
Did you recently arrive here, stranger? Triga looked puzzled.
I don't really remember. I can't answer your question, old man. Sorry.
There is no need to answer, Kami said. I see. I literally saw it. You arriving. My job is to observe this planet and anything that may endanger its safety. You arrived on a pod, much like Goku's back in the day. You two have something in common. Forgive my harsh words, but I fear that you may have come here initially for nefarious reasons.
Triga is floored by this. You mean he's an alien? Goku was also confused. A pod? I arrived in a pod? Kami then realized he never told Goku this before, but now this seemed like the right thing to tell.
Yes, you did, Goku. Your grandpa did raise you and adopt you, that part's true. But you are not from this world, and neither are you, Triga.
The pair looked at each other. If they had arrived in the same kind of craft, did that mean that they came from the same place? Were they connected in some shape or form? Kami, still looking anxious, asked Triga something.
Do you wish harm on this world? Triga vehemently shouted back.
Of course not! I have no desire to hurt anyone! I just want a peaceful life with my new family, to live on the farm. I don't wish to cause trouble. Believe me. Please.
Goku looks to him as he says this, and can tell his words are genuine. He's telling the truth, Kami. I've met his folks, and they seem like hardworking people. He really does mean no harm. I believe him.
Kami nods, taking this on board. Well, if Goku does believe you, then that does count for something. Very well. If you sincerely wish no ill on this world, then, Triga, I welcome you to Earth. Try not to scuff it up too much, like Goku here.
Goku then looks a little bashful. Sorry, I get carried away sometimes from training.
Triga then laughs and feels more relaxed. In the minutes that follow, Kami explains the tale of Goku and how he came to train with him years ago, and all of the adventures that he had had with his friends. Triga took this all in, looking very enthusiastic, feeling quite lucky to have met this fascinating individual. He now could rest easy, knowing that this caretaker of the world liked him. Now, I bet you're wondering, do Nappa and Vegeta come after Raditz in the story? Well, no. They did consider going to look for their comrade when they first heard the scouter going kaput, but Vegeta chose not to, as it was too much effort for no reward seemingly. Remember, they only went to Earth in the original story to learn more about those Dragon Balls, the ones that could grant wishes, not to avenge their fallen friend. No, it was too out of their way to follow him, a year out in space for no reward? No, in this story they just leave him for dead. So, yeah, no Nappa and Vegeta. Without them paying a visit, space doesn't really factor into the story at all. There is no Vegeta saga, there's no Namek, no Frieza, no Super Saiyan. None of the first half of Dragon Ball Z happens. Goku and Triga are, as far as the story is concerned, the two strongest beings on Earth, and there is no compulsion or need to investigate the stars. When Triga and Goku return to the farm, Piccolo now keeping his distance, having now wrongly assumed that they would be scared, after what happened he could now sense that Triga's power had increased considerably, and Triga himself was unaware of his Zenkai boost innately. The demon hadn't expected that. He had unwittingly caused his new adversary to get even stronger.
Wow. All I can say is, Goku, is that you are an incredible man.
Goku then laughs it off, looking quite modest.
You're right. It's been a wild ride these last few years. But going back to what I talked about, you want to train some more sometime? I don't know how it happened, but since you got better with the beam, your power's like even bigger. I want to catch up to you.
Triga had been stunned a lot today, but there was room for some more astonishment.
Well, okay, you twisted my arm, I suppose.
The pair shake hands and vow to train more together and to get stronger. With no interruptions from space, Triga and Goku become firm friends, and the former becomes a firm member of the Dragon Team. With his inclusion, the gang all train with each other much more often, and get much stronger than they do in this time in the original story. Now, you might be thinking, is this all chummy-wummy type stuff a good thing? For Earth, does it remain peaceful? Well, you see, the farmer defeating Raditz is ultimately the thing that doomed Earth as we knew it. Now, don't get me wrong, years do pass and the Dragon team have welcomed Triga with open arms, things have been absolutely hunky-dory. The farm has done fantastic business, and the strength that Triga had made him a household name. Not as well known as Hercule could be in the original or anything, but definitely enough to make Triga and the farm he worked on at least a C-list level of celebrity. He had mainly focused on his training and farm work, keeping a modest living, and as a result, he hadn't met anybody actually who had sparked his interest in terms of love. But he was okay with that for the moment. As far as he was concerned, there was plenty of time to find love. Or so he thought. Now, you may have thought that Super Saiyan might have inadvertently come into the training at some point, because, you know, powers get stronger, tests get limited, maybe sometimes there might be a bit of a temper, but no, we don't have the luxury of Super Saiyan in this story. Because, again, without the intervention of space, no going to Frieza. But I think you may be guessing that things might be getting worse here. Now, okay, of course, there is no heart virus or anything like that because, of course, Goku doesn't go to space. So those 6 months between them and the thing we're about to talk about remain okay. But bad news arrived. On that fateful day, May 12th, 2 androids emerged, and their power was unlike anything the Dragon team had seen or could counter. Androids 17 and 18 rained down chaos on the land on behalf of Dr. Gero, having now gotten his revenge on Goku and his friends. In fact, Triga's arrival had been a blessing in disguise. His power was even greater than his nemesis had been, Goku, and without the utter mayhem of the Goku and Vegeta fight destroying the nanobug drones, or the tryptonymic clouding further gains, Gero saw everything they did. He had much more data to work with to use for his creations. There was no means to counter, and all of the Dragon team was just completely wasted. Nobody survived. Not even Kirin. Even the likes of Chi-Chi, Roshi, Oolong, Puar, no one was safe. The Earth was completely ravaged, and humanity was left cowering with fear. And we don't even have the Namekian Dragon Balls to help our heroes. Remember, no space friends made themselves known. Kami's relaxed attitude to Triga resulted in no further inquiry into their origins. As far as the Guardian was concerned, Triga was A-OK, the same as Goku, without any kind of cause to even investigate. And it then led to complacency and a return to the status quo. So, my dear viewers, the farmer offing Raditz would be, actually, the worst thing that could happen to the Dragon team. Now, I do apologise for the somber conclusion, my friends, but it's something that would realistically occur had Vegeta and Nappa chosen not to intervene. They did a lot for the story. No reason to go to Namek, no meeting Frieza. It all hinged on the Dragon team winning out against the androids later on. The farmer, Nofu, was the first piece of the puzzle, and without his sacrifice, letting Raditz go to meet Goku and all that, the rest of the jigsaw is completely written off. So what did you folks think? Did this ending get you down? What other things could have occurred to write this story? Perhaps maybe I'll revisit it with an alternative ending. But anyway, leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later.